I've hired a lot of people over my career, hired them for my own company, hired them for other companies. And I'm thinking about one person in particular sticks out in my head, not because of what she did, but because what I did. It's another one of those weird things, weird hangups that we empaths have, which is that's why we're doing this second. There's more, friends. A second episode on more weird hangups that empaths have. So this woman did great. I mean, everybody loved her. Everybody loved her work. And yet, after a while, it just started going downhill. I mean, like really, really going downhill. Like, she wasn't showing up. She'd say she was working or got things done that hadn't happened, hadn't gotten done. My little spidey senses, my empathic self started to say, oh, Summer, you know what's going on. She's basically, I don't know, starting a second job while she says she's working with you, for you. There's something happening here. She's not here anymore. And then I began to hear that she was saying things about me, like behind my back, to other employees, to clients, customers, people who, worked with or purchased from the company that I was with. And I thought, oh, that's definitely not good. We need to address this. This is beyond the pale. But this is what brings me to the very first thing that weird, like empaths do that's just weird, not normal. It isn't based on self-preservation. It's based on preserving others before ourselves. And I've fallen prey. I look for it now. We give people way too much leeway. Like we let them get away with murder. We let them get away with things that we ourselves would never dare try to get away with. So this brings us to the next set of things we do. And things that you can choose to do or stop choosing to do. Or things that you're doing now and saying to yourself, I never knew why I did that. Well, come on today's little journey with me and let's open this up. Let's figure this out. Let's explore this. Welcome to, well, here it comes. Still Kinda Woo-Woo is just what it sounds like. An escape into the world of woo. Also, a ride into you. And how to feel happier, wiser, and more self-aware in every way. It's your ultimate journey into personal growth and inner power. We'll explore ideas like how your energy self influences the kinds of opportunities you encounter, or how your personal growth can drive your business growth, or even how that feeling of being stuck is really always coming from something else. We just have to figure out what. That's right, we're a dash of woo-woo, a sprinkle of self-care, a heap of problem-solving and pattern-busting, and a giant cup of encouragement. We're going to relight so much passion, purpose, self-love, and confidence in you that you practically stagger. I'm Summer McStravick, your host, and welcome to Still Kinda Woo-Woo. So let's get right back to this idea of why we sacrifice our own self-preservation for others. In my case, it seems weird, like, oh, you're the boss. Like, you're paying her or it's coming out of the payroll that you have for your stuff. Either way, why would I do that? Well, as an empath, one of the things we tend to do is we place ourselves in other people's shoes. We feel them. We feel what they're feeling. We literally see out their eyes, depending on the extent or the awareness you have of what you're doing. But we see the world the way they're seeing that. There's no way to do that without feeling incredibly compassionate, incredibly empathetic. There is my judgment of what's going on, hurtful to me. And then there's my sort of autonomic nervous system, my autonomic empathic nervous system, a part of me that's just clicking along, feeling how she's feeling, seeing what she's seeing, saying to myself, maybe I'd do a similar thing. Oh, maybe I wouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? But I feel you doing that. You feel it's right to do that. You feel it's just. You can see how this causes like a little swirl of controversy, a swirl of confusion. And I think that's what the weirdest thing is that we empaths do. We get lost in the confusion of it. We know we should be looking out for ourselves, protecting the people we love, protecting other employees, protecting our higher ups, our lower downs, whatever it may be. Yet we also feel and see like, well, I get what they're going through. I do. I've noticed and I've learned, if I'm getting to the point where I am giving somebody more leeway for behavior that they do than I would expect for behavior if I did the same thing, then it's a no-brainer. It's okay. That's not acceptable. And I know how you feel about it, and I can see through your eyes about it. But it doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to prioritize you and your feelings over me and my own. It's a big thing to gulp down. And honestly, it takes more than just, a podcast, an episode, and a brief glossing over to get that. That's something that you can work on for weeks, months, years, and get through. But it has to be done, especially if you've seen yourself doing that. Everything changes after you do that. You start to realize, nah, I see what you're seeing, but it's not working. It's wrong. It's dragging everybody down. Everybody is going down with you. You know that old saying, one bad apple ruins the batch? It's true because, you get like a mold on some tomatoes in your fruit bowl, and the next thing you know, all 3-4 other tomatoes under it are also like where they touch. The mold is there. That's what happens. So it doesn't matter if you're feeling soft and loving and concerned, that person's mold is still not what you should prioritize. At the risk of getting preachy in this one, which I sometimes do from the lived experience that I'm just like trying to share with you, let's move on. Because really today, I want to help you see who you are, see signs and signals, see the weird things that like you think, oh, that's kind of weird. I always kind of felt badly about myself for that. I want you to open that up and say, well, you don't have to feel badly about yourself now. It's just part of the whole thing. It's part of the milieu that we're experiencing as this certain kind of person who has opened themselves to understanding more information, receiving it in whatever form it comes, physical, non-physical, who knows? The next thing, the next weird hang up is, it's kind of a strange one, but this is one that I sometimes experience. We start hating going into people's minds. I know there's probably like 500 people on earth who could say, could or would say that. But if you're one of them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I love going in people's minds because for me, it's like meeting people. Yeah, introduce me. Sure, let's talk. Yeah, I want to know and talk and meet you, learn about you. But here's what happens. You have somebody in your life, let's say, somebody related to you. I'm not going to name names here in my family, but somebody related to you, or you have a client, or there's somebody, a friend. And every time it's like, would you look into so-and-so? Would you look into them? Would you look into them? I'm like, really? We looked like 2 days ago, but would you look again? It's like, you want me to see something different. I'm not going to see anything different. It's the same as it was 2 days ago, which is pretty much the same thing I saw last year. I'm sick of talking to this person and asking them the same damn question over and over. I know you're laughing, but this often happens, typically happens with What does my boyfriend think of me? Why is he acting like that? What does he think today? What does he think tomorrow? And it's like, look, you've seen it, you've heard it, you've been living the experience of his feelings of you. You've heard it reflected from me. It's been, 100% validated. So why would it change in 2 days? Why would it change after that? I'm sick of talking to this boy. I'm sick of talking to this person. I sound so snarky. Oh, my God. I feel like some still kind of woo-woo has freed my snarky self from the deep recesses. But I do say it with love. But what I'm trying to get across is people don't change until you change your relationship to them. So if you're waiting for them to be different, act different, you've got to be the one to step in and change the rules of the game. You've got to be a different person for them to respond to. They won't be able to respond the same way to you if you have changed how you're interacting with them. And maybe one of those ways is to not constantly wonder, what are they thinking? How are they feeling about me? That's why I say sometimes I hate going to some people's minds because it's like I feel like an intruder. It's like, hey, it's me. It's like slide into those DMs 15 times a day. Hi, it's me. Just seeing how you are. How you doing? Is it all good? I know what you're doing. You're checking up on me. You're seeing what I'm doing. You don't trust me. You're this, you're that. And when I'm doing that for someone else, I start to feel that way with them. Like, hello, I don't really want to be here, but so-and-so wants me to come talk to you again. And I can tell you're getting really tired of talking to me. That's kind of a really down low secret. But anybody who knows that they're empathic or psychic or intuitive, you may have had that experience before. So I had to bring it up. I couldn't just kind of gloss over it and pretend, no, that doesn't happen. And that's not to say, like, I am always happy to look into people for my clients. But again, I'm usually not talking to my clients today, tomorrow, the next day, 3 days later, 4 days after that. I make sure we've got good, strong gaps of time. I need to see change. I need to have good, natural conversations because that's how things happen and move. All right, let's go on. This one you guys already know, but we sensitive people, overly sensitive people, highly sensitive people. Oh my gosh, there's been so many names. Some are derogatory, overly sensitive people. Some are special sensitive people. Those of us who feel things, those of us who are just naturally open to other people. We know them. We feel everything. We hate going to crowded places. This is maybe one of my more embarrassing ones, but as a mom, right, I have 2 kids, and every year, because I'm in San Diego, it's very easy to go up to Disneyland, and that's what every kid wants to do. And I'm like, okay, so once a year, we're going to go to Disneyland. This was with the kids as they were growing up. The pandemic kind of changed that, right? But for like 15 years, that's all we did. But it was always such a miserable experience for me. I remember collapsing into the little steel, cold metal chairs of the French bistro by the haunted house. If you guys have ever been there, you know exactly the place I'm talking about. They have the clam chowder in the big bread baskets. And I would just feel like, how many more hours are left? And I'd eye the crowds walking by. And sometimes I would just dabble and say, well, I'm going to just, and I can't help it. I'm looking inside people's heads. I'm like, oh, this person feels like this person. It's like my relax moment. Oh, this person. I just kind of like drift in and out of people's heads as they walk by. Weird. But another part of me is like, I've just seen way too many people. I have been crammed in lines with people 1 foot in front of me and 1 foot behind me for like 6 hours today. I'm done. I am cooked. I am overcooked. I have been oversteamed. Pull those vegetables off the stove. I'm done. So, long story short, I made it a deal with the kids that I would go to Disneyland once a year, but only for Halloween. One, because I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. But two, because Disneyland has a Halloween pass, a special like trick or treat pass. And they typically let in 1/3 of the traditional volume of people. That, my friends, is the only reason that I started doing that. So I could just breathe a little. As I walked, I could just feel space around me, feel this emotional space, feel this radiance of energetic space. Believe me, 1/3 less people at Disneyland is like, 20,000 less people or 50,000. It's ridiculous. So if you hate crowded places, if you love going to them for now and then, you just dart in, you spend a couple hours, you're like, wee, this is fun, right? Because you don't do it much. It's fun. It's like, wow, all this energy and people. But if you're in that crowded place day in and day out, if you're an empath and you work as a checker in the grocery store, you come home like your mind is fried, you're blitzed. And it's not from punching in numbers and talking to customers. It's just that constant line. It's that constant. So we tend to shy away from places where there are big groups of people. Fairgrounds, concerts. When I was younger, I was much more able to handle that Lollapalooza. Like I'm talking way back. If I said Lollapalooza, that means a long time ago. But now the thought of being around, it's just hard. I have to manually restrain myself. Don't feel that. Pull in, don't feel that. Otherwise, bloop, I'm out there just touching. Can't help myself like a kid in a museum with no supervision. Oh, touch. Okay. Here's one more. Oh God, all the dirty little secrets, weird hangups, things that we empaths have to deal with. By the way, oh God, that reminds me. It's mailbag time.
You've got mail.
Now, Lori emailed me after last week's episode, and she said, I just love your weird hangups episode. I have a question. Are some people more naturally gifted than others? In other words, is it like art? Can some people just read things and other people can't? Is this something I can learn? Should I sign up for your course? Okay, Lori. So I edited that a little bit, took out all the, that was so amazingness, right? Thank you, Lori, though. Love to you. Yeah, that's a great question. A very, very, very good question. I do think some people are naturally born with this intuitive streak. And do you guys know what I mean by intuitive? I try to really futurize it. I was going to say I hate, but I don't hate, but I dislike. I dislike the word psychic. To me, it feels clunky and old and table rappy and occulty. When I do this work, I just say, look, I can feel people. I know what they're thinking. I've learned how to ask them questions. I've learned to kind of walk in and stomp around in their mudroom. And sometimes they invite me in further into themselves and we have a great conversation. Sometimes I just have to glean what the vibe of the place feels like in a person. But it's like I'm talking to them right here in IRL, in real life. Doesn't matter where they are. Like I said, in a body, outside of a body. And I just do this. My mom does this. I think my grandma did it. Great grandma, she didn't, well, we don't really know. But we do know that she did astrology. She did a lot of very interesting things back in the 1900s. We have a long tradition of this. So yeah, I think not only was I kind of born with a bit of this, a lot of this, but because it was nurtured, it was acknowledged from day one. I had no barrier to it. If anything, the barrier was my own, being a rebellious teenager saying, I don't want to do any of this psychic stuff. God, it's so embarrassing. And eventually I realized, oh my gosh, everybody else is jealous that I was born into the Addams family, and I don't see why they're, like, why would they think that's cool? Eventually, though, I figured it out. So I do think you can come in strong. However, there are so many mitigating factors. And I've said this before. This will be part of, by the way, my course, my book about this. If you were in an environment that required you to have your antenna up all the time because you didn't know which way the wind was blowing, was mom happy? Was mom drunk? Was dad angry? Was dad chill? Like we had to like know stuff. And we were willing to use any senses that would tell us. Some of us, we got just an intense training without even knowing what was going on. Filled with oftentimes a lot of pain, I will admit. But we got an intense training. So many of us who were quote unquote little hurt or damaged growing up turned out to be amazing empaths. Just takes us a little longer to learn how to own our power, right? Plug the power leaks that I talk about a lot in the world of Flowdreaming, by the way. If you want to check that out, Flowdreaming, it's the bomb. It's great. Go check it out. That's what we talk about, me school, etc. So we have some learning to do, right, to help ourselves. But that said, if you look at, say, a talent like art, some people come in with loads. Some people slowly acquire it. Some people don't seem to have much at all. However, here's the weird thing. Art's a strange medium. You can be terrible at drawing, but have the most amazing sense of composition, how things fit together, how they look. You can design things like costumes and clothing and not be able to draw or paint. Sometimes the art is tactile. Sometimes it's visual. Sometimes it's more about patterns and organization. I'm sort of that way. My daughter, she's the most brilliant drawer, illustrator. I mean, the stuff she was drawing at like 10 was blowing my mind. I put her in so many art classes. Of course, she rebelled. She was like, no, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to go into science. I'm like, oh, God, you've got more natural skill than I have in my pinky. But the fact is, I'm not a great drawer, but I spent the first decade of my life as a graphic designer because I can see how things fit together. I can see how they work visually, how they can be pleasing. This is what I'm saying to you when it comes to being an empath. Maybe you say, well, I don't really feel people or read people's minds, Summer. I just don't. However, I've had so many strange premonitions. Like I've known things so often before they happened. It's like a part of me just reached into the future a little bit, felt it, knew it. And when it happened, I said, knew that was happening, knew that was coming. We all have, in other words, the particular media that we work in. It's not all the same. That's what's so brilliant and beautiful. Some of us are beautiful interpreters. Some of us can see what potentialities are, futures are. Some of us can look very well back in the past, see, describe things, help people reach those past points of ourselves. Anyone who's done inner child work with a gifted practitioner, that. We all have different areas of excellence. So before you write yourself off completely and say, I'm not an empath, I want you to think, where do you shine in your own interesting way? Look. Okay, we're going to move on. Mailbag. Thank you very much Lori, I hope that kind of answered things. And yes, of course, you should take my course. In the meantime, before all of that is ready, do you know what is about to be ready? My book, Stuff Nobody Taught You, 40 Lessons from Me School to help you stop feeling miserable and start feeling amazing. For real, I think this is the best book I've ever written. Maybe I think that because I'm pretty much 20 years older than the last time I wrote a book. Oh, right, not 20 years, maybe just, yeah, almost 20. So, yes, please check it out. Let's go back. Oh, and where you check it out is, sorry about that. Distracted. My dog was just at the door. He was looking at me with those big, sad puppy eyes. Will you let me in? I'm like, no, buddy. You know where the open door is in the house. It's not in my office while I'm recording. Anyway, you can find the book on Amazon. You can pre-order it now. That would be fabulous. I'm going to have a bunch of amazing and fun things coming out. You'll be hearing about them soon if you haven't already, especially if you are on my mailing list. Go to flowdreaming.com. By the way, I've got dozens of courses, about 200 audios that are really powerful manifesting activations. They're called flow dreams. That's what I spent my first 680 episodes of this, the last 18 seasons, talking about. So do check that out. But I'll be doing some fun things, book launch parties online with all of you. Maybe some free giveaways. Oh, God, I've got so much planned. Anyway, please go check it out. You got to get the book. I guess you don't have to get the book, but I would love it if you got the book to participate in all of these wonderful things with me. Okay, that's my ask. Here we go. We empaths, one of our weird hangups, weird quasi self-destructive / we feel ashamed, etc. hangups. This is one of the more heavy ones, but we take too many baths. We drink too much, smoke too much, smoke a little something too much. We tend to find ways to get it all off us, even if we don't even know what the stuff we're trying to get off is. In other words, many, many years of my life, I used to shower 2 times a day. Way before I started doing my work with other people. To the degree that I do now. But I'd get up in the morning and shower, and I'd come home at night and shower. And these were not 5-minute showers, my friends. These were high water bill showers. I even talk about it in my early episodes, my early years here doing Flowdreaming. The reason is I just felt grimy all the time. I felt like I've got to get something off me. I've got to get someone off me. I've got to get other people's thoughts off me, other people's feelings off me, other people's upsets, other people's thoughts about me off me. Wash it away, wash it away, wash it away. So a lot of us have tended to create weird habits and rituals to kind of help with this, usually completely unconsciously. Like we don't even realize that's what we're doing it for. Sometimes, though, it can be, a little bit more harsh on your body, a little more destructive. It can be that 1 glass of wine that is then 2 glasses of wine, that is then 3 glasses of wine. It can be rolling that little smoke and smoking a little and then smoking a little more. Basically, what you're doing is you're removing yourself. You're dulling yourself. You're kind of like smearing the filters. You're saying nothing more can come in. I'm taking the windows from the inside and putting soap all over them. Nobody can see. I can't see out. It's all good. I've got my few hours of downtime. So if that's you, I get it. Totally normal, totally natural. Just try to find ways of cleansing yourself that are healthy and sustainable. Because some of these ways aren't really sustainable. In California, if you're showering twice a day, that's definitely not going to be sustainable. Likewise, drinking, smoking, etc. is something that's hard to keep up in the long run. right? No judgment here, no shade about this. It's just, if you keep it up in the long run, it's going to dull those windows. It's going to permanently obscure those windows. So find something, find a way. Again, I can't go into all of that now, but there are ways. There are other ways that you can get it all off you. Just notice the ones you kind of naturally were inclined to do. It could be a sign, it could be telling you something. All right, here's one more. I tell you guys, this thing's gonna go on forever, right? I'll try and speed it up a bit. But when I started writing this list of weird things we do, I was like, oh my God, here I go. I'm like going more and more and more. I'm like, I've got to stop or nobody's going to want to be an empath by the time I'm done with these 2 episodes. Unfortunately, it's not something you get to pick, right? You are or aren't. We hate it when people say, explain how you feel. Tell me why you're right. Oh God, I hate that. Usually I'm in an argument with my husband. Tell me why you're right. And I know exactly what he's looking for. He is looking for a well thought out argument based on logic that will help him see my point of view, convince me to come around. It's coming from oftentimes a generous place. But if you ask an empath, what we're saying is like our tongues just stop working. I don't know how to explain how I feel. It's my intuitive knowing. I just know. I feel it. I know. I drink and I know things. Classic Game of Thrones line. Anyway, it's hard for us because we feel like we're being put on the spot. We feel like we're going to be judged. We feel like the strength of our evidence ain't going to hold up. Not for the logic or the science or the history or the person who's like a total nerd about facts and they know all this trivia. Oh my gosh, when I am put in that situation, I feel like a tiny little kid trying to say, but I just know this. And the person looking at me is like, I know trivia for the last 50 years. Ask me anything and I will tell you. I'm like, great. I know that you know this stuff, but I know different stuff. And you're trying to make my stuff be as weighty as your stuff and equal to your stuff. But I can tell you fundamentally disrespect my stuff. And now you want me to not only defend what I'm talking about, but defend my way of knowing what I talk about. It's too much. Hands up in the air. Walk away. That's a weird hang up. I admit. I fall prey to that too sometimes. The next one here is that we sometimes cringe at that word psychic or medium, which I've already intimated earlier. I feel like people come with a lot of baggage. Like when you're psychic and it's cool, or you're a medium, or you talk to dead people, or, do they hang around your bed? Do they float like little ghosties? There's all this stuff. And, half of it is just like, no, that's not how it works. No, that's not how I feel. No, that's not how I know. No, that's just kind of TV. No. So there's this sigh, just the inner sigh, like, no, that's not how I do it. It's not how I see it. I don't feel like explaining it all, but please don't call me a psychic because I know what that means in your mind. And I know, too, you've got a lot of weirdness around it. You think maybe your angels are not going to like it. You think maybe you're not going to go to heaven because you talk to me. There's so much. I just want to quietly tiptoe away. So if there are words or ways of referring to you, your ability, your knowledge, your inner cunning that you just rankle at, you have just an instinctive kind of, it's totally fair because you are reading into those words. You are reading into those terms, and your terms are not going to be my terms. Or maybe they will. I don't know. But you know. And here we go. The very, very last one. The weird things that we empaths kind of do, feel, hang on to. Some of us haven't gotten over our religious ideas. So I'm going to call religion a hang up. I know this will get me in trouble with some of you. I will take your hate mail. But really, religions oftentimes have very structured, very codified, meaning written out in no uncertain terms, ways of defining what is legit, real, godly communication, and everything else, vroom, the flames of hell. And we tussle and we pull and we tug and we want to go into it and we have shame around it. And it's like, but I feel this and I am this, but maybe it's not really real, or it shouldn't be real, or maybe it's going to get me in trouble, or maybe I'm going to have satanic visits. Look, it's a weird hang up. Let go of the religious stuff around your intuitive abilities, around your intuitive self. Honor all of the feelings that you have. Honor all of the knowing that you have. Ask yourself real deep and hard, would whatever faith I believe in tell me it is wrong when I am literally being given extra information that I could do very good, powerful work in the world with? Wouldn't it be weirder to turn your back to that out of fear or threat? This is why I feel intuition, mediumship, empathic intuition, talking to people as I do, living, dead, wherever they may be. This is why I feel it is almost exempt from religious theory. Information is information is information is information. We are in an information age, folks. It's all we do, most of us, is we just ingest information for hours and hours a day, whether you're on a computer or you're at work talking with people, information going back and forth, and then you get on your phone and you're scrolling through your Instagram and your TikTok, and then you're looking for your online dating and see who's reached you. Information, it's going back and forth and back and forth. And somehow it's okay if it's coming through a phone, if it's coming through an app, if it's coming through a computer, but it's not okay if it's coming through your own dang brain. Your brain, which preceded all of those. Your brain, which created all of those. All of those things, your phone, etc., are babies of humankind's intellect and evolution. That's the primo supremo top layer level. So you're saying what I know, the communication that I'm having in my heart with all that is, with God, with people I love, with whomever it may be. What you're saying is no? I would say yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's the number. I want more of that communication. That is the best communication. So I want you to think about any weird hangups you might have around that. So this wraps it. I know I only did the one segment, the mailbag. I'll do some more. I know you guys are like, what's your personal life update? I still can't believe you guys are so curious, but okay, yes. I will slowly let out a little more about me. I know you want to know about Flowdreaming and my company and how I built it and where I'm going next and etc. I know. My family, which I'm always a little like, I can sometimes say stuff, sometimes not, because I still try to protect their privacy. But nonetheless, I'm going to wrap. And I just want to say love to you guys. Thank you for hanging in there with me. If you are interested in your intuitive abilities, please reach out to me. Please email me, summer@flowdreaming.com. At the very least, someday we should have a session together. You can see how it works from the way I do it. It's instructive, not just because I get to tell you all about who you are and what your life holds and what your potentials are and more, but you get to see a way of like being completely open and owning this. And maybe that's something that you can step into as well. I firmly believe the more of us who are intuitively owning ourselves, all of us, all the information we receive, the better this world is going to be, right? The less fearful, the less scared, the less toxic. So I'm on a mission. I'm on a rampage. And yes, someday, the book, the course will come out. I'm teasing you with it now because I'm just in the thick of writing it. But I do have a great book coming out, Stuff Nobody Taught You. Please look it up on Amazon. Please also get on my mailing list. Go to flowdreaming.com if you haven't already. Check things out. I have such a beautiful library, hundreds of things we can work on for you in your life to change, to grow, to expand. All right, my darlings, that's it. I will talk with you again for another episode of, oh God, I was about to say Flow Dreaming, but I'm now going to say still kind of woo-woo.